Chief Scientific Officer at the wellness company, who was right about this all along, by the way, Dr. Peter McCullough. Sir, it's baffling.
Yeah, her concerns are justified, but I have to tell you, the biggest change in the health of Americans over the last 6 years has been the pandemic, both the viral infection, SARS-CoV-2, and the COVID-19 vaccines. And 81% of Americans took a vaccine. 94% of them took a genetic vaccine with either Pfizer or Moderna. Now the reports are pouring in that indeed the vaccines, it looks like they promote cancer.
That is such an insane thing that look, I resisted this at all accounts. I said, nope, I'm not doing it. And you can hold a gun to my head all you want. And I said no. And everybody asked me, they're like, well, how'd you not get the vaccine? I was like, I just said no. Like, it was that simple.
Yeah, I did too. I didn't take it. They were not safe enough. And, we knew early in the first few months there were large numbers of people dying shortly after the vaccine. And, as we sit here today, those who did not take the vaccine in many ways dodged a bullet. However, both the infection and the vaccine contribute the spike protein, this protein on the surface of the virus. The protein itself may lower our defenses against cancer. Wow.
I mean, that is crazy to me. The other thing, too, is what this did to damage our health institution. Politico put out a new poll that shows that the vaccine appears to have turned many Americans against vaccines and our institutions as well. The problem with this is, let's say, God forbid, there is a real pandemic, not the flu. People are going to be like, no, screw you, I don't believe you. And then people really will die.
Well, vaccines aren't a solution for a pandemic because once a viral infection is too widely prevalent, it'll just outsmart any vaccine. The response is really risk stratification and early treatment. So vaccines really shouldn't be featured in pandemics. Right. However, the great debacle of the COVID vaccine program has basically caused loss of confidence and erosion of trust in all the routine childhood vaccines.
Yeah, but here's the thing is they wanted this untested, completely unknown thing with no long-term testing, no even short-term testing. They wanted that. But then you've got 83-year-old Purple People Eater Democrat Rosa DeLauro, who's the congressman. She says, you can't drink. Watch this real quick.
If I were the head of HHS, I would, by God, say, don't take raw milk. It is dangerous to your health. And if you can't say that, well, maybe there's some other conclusions that can be drawn.
I drink raw milk whenever I can, and I am generally pretty fine.
Yeah, I have to tell you, Carl, to be honest, I wouldn't dye my hair purple, but I wouldn't drink raw milk either.
Really?
Now, if you're on a farm like you and you have access and you have clean collection and refrigeration and you consume it right away,
which I do.
That's where you can get away with this. The problem is, in Texas heat, it spoils within about an hour, and there have been outbreaks of, Salmonella, E. coli, serious infections. So I think there should be strict regulations around it. And there are some theoretical benefits. There are two analyses suggesting if children get exposed to this early, they have lower rates of allergic diseases.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Everybody is allergic to absolutely everything these days. That to me, could that be a nature versus nurture versus nature thing?
It could be. There is this hygiene hypothesis that if we actually got exposed to more dirt and farm animals, maybe raw milk and others, we wouldn't be so allergic. It's, those growing up in the sterile environment, they don't get that early antigenic exposure. There's also a great concern that excessive childhood vaccination is leading to all of these food allergies and other allergic diseases.
Touch grass, be in nature. What a noble concept. Dr. Peter McCullough, appreciate it as always, sir.
Thank you.